Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button right now because you're not going to want to miss what's coming. Picture this, I'm standing outside my own house in the pouring rain, clutching a soggy bouquet of roses, staring through the window at my own anniversary party. My mother-in-law is inside, clinking champagne glasses, smiling like she's the hostess of the year, and she's about to introduce my husband to a woman I've never seen before. Yeah, you heard that right. I was banned from my own anniversary party. Smash that like button if you're already hooked, and let's dive in. My name is Lauren, and 5 years ago I married the love of my life, Ethan. We met in college when he spilled an entire tray of cafeteria spaghetti on my white sneakers. Instead of apologizing, he looked me dead in the eye and said, "Well, now you'll never forget me." Cheesy? Absolutely. But that was Ethan, unapologetic, goofy, and the only person who could make me laugh until my ribs hurt. We built a life together. A tiny fixer-upper house with creaky floors, a dog named Pickles who thinks he's a cat, and a savings jar labeled Italy 2025 that we'd been filling with spare change for 3 years. Our marriage wasn't perfect, but it was ours. Enter Vivian, my mother-in-law. Vivian is the kind of woman who walks into a room and the air shifts like she's royalty and the rest of us are just peasants lucky enough to breathe near her. She's tall, impeccably dressed, and has a smile that never quite reaches her eyes. From day one, she made it clear I was never going to be good enough for her only son. I was a graphic designer who worked from home in paint-splattered overalls. She was a retired surgeon who lunched with senators. You get the picture. The first crack appeared at our wedding. Vivian had insisted on planning the entire thing, and I let her because Ethan begged me to keep the peace. She chose lilac as the color scheme even though I'm allergic to lilies. She seated my parents at the kids' table, and during the toast she cried about losing her baby boy while staring directly at me like I'd kidnapped him. I laughed it off. Ethan squeezed my hand under the table and whispered, "She'll come around." She didn't. Fast forward to our 5th anniversary. Ethan had been dropping hints for weeks, secret phone calls, mysterious Amazon packages, giggling like a kid on Christmas. I figured he was planning a surprise party. I was half right. What I didn't know was that Vivian had hijacked the whole thing. It started with the dress. I'd spent weeks hunting for the perfect outfit, something elegant but still me. I found it, a deep emerald gown with tiny embroidered stars that made me feel like I was wearing the night sky. The morning of the party, I laid it out on the bed, humming as I curled my hair. That's when Vivian called. "Lauren, darling," she purred, her voice dripping with honeyed venom. "Ethan S. asked me to handle a few last-minute details. Could you swing by the venue early, around 4? There's a small issue with the florist." I should have known, but I was so excited I didn't question it. I kissed Ethan goodbye. He was already dressed in a sharp navy suit, grinning like he'd won the lottery, and drove to the venue. Except when I got there, the gates were locked. A handwritten sign read, "Private event, guests arrive at 7 p.m. I called Ethan. No answer. I called Vivian, straight to voicemail. Panic crept in. I drove home to change, but when I pulled into the driveway, my heart stopped. Our house was lit up like a Christmas tree. Cars lined the street. Laughter spilled from the open windows. And there on the front porch stood Vivian in a floor-length silver gown, greeting guests like she owned the place. Which technically she kind of did. She'd paid for half the renovations after Ethan's dad passed. I stormed up the steps, still in my jeans and hoodie. "Vivian, what the hell is going on?" She turned, her smile tightening. "Lauren, you're early. This is my anniversary party. Technically, it's Ethan S2, and he asked me to host." She placed a manicured hand on my arm. "Sweetie, you look tired. Why don't you go inside and freshen up? We'll pretend this never happened." I shoved past her. The living room was transformed, twinkle lights, white orchids, a string quartet in the corner. Our friends mingled with people I didn't recognize. And there, by the fireplace, stood Ethan. He looked stunned to see me. "Laura, what are you doing here?" "What am I doing here? This is my house." Vivian swooped in like a vulture. "Everyone, if I could have your attention," she raised a champagne flute. The room quieted. "Tonight we celebrate 5 wonderful years of Ethan, and well, we all know marriages take work." She laughed, and a few guests chuckled nervously. "But sometimes the universe has other plans. Ethan, darling, come here." Ethan hesitated, his eyes locked on mine. I felt the floor tilt. Vivian continued, "I'd like to introduce you all to Cassandra. She's a brilliant cardiologist, Harvard-educated, and Ethan, doesn't she remind you of that girl you dated senior year? The one who got away?" A woman stepped forward, tall, blonde, legs for days. She smiled at Ethan like they shared a secret. My stomach lurched. Ethan finally spoke. "Mom, what is this?" "Just an introduction, sweetheart. Lauren's lovely, but let's be honest, she's holding you back. You could have been chief of surgery by now if you hadn't wasted your residency playing house." The room gasped. I couldn't breathe. Our friends stared at their shoes. Pickles, traitor that he was, trotted over and licked Cassandra's ankle. I found my voice. "Get out." Vivian blinked. "Excuse me." "Get out of my house." My hands shook, but I didn't care. This is our anniversary, our home, our life. You don't get to waltz in here and auction my husband off like he's a prize bull. Ethan stepped between us. Lauren, I didn't know. You didn't know your mother was trying to pimp you out at our anniversary party, I laughed, but it came out broken. Unbelievable. Vivian's face hardened. You're embarrassing yourself, security. She dehired security. Two burly guys in suits appeared like magic. Before I knew it, I was being escorted, dragged out the front door. The rain had started, cold and relentless. The last thing I saw was Ethan reaching for me, his mouth forming my name while Vivian blocked his path. I sat on the curb, soaked to the bone, roses wilting in my lap. Our neighbors peeked through curtains. Someone's phone flashed, probably filming for TikTok. Happy anniversary to me. That's when Mrs. Delgado from next door shuffled over with an umbrella. She's 82, wears cat sweaters year-round and bakes cookies that could resurrect the dead. Lauren Mija, what did that witch do now? I burst into tears. She hugged me, not caring that her sweater was getting ruined. Come on, you're sleeping at my place tonight. I spent the night on her floral couch, eating snickerdoodles and replaying every moment. Had Ethan known? Had he wanted this? The doubt gnawed at me like a termite. The next morning, I woke to pounding on Mrs. Delgado's door. Ethan stood there, still in last night's suit, eyes bloodshot. Lore, please let me explain. I wanted to slam the door. Instead, I stepped outside. Talk. He told me everything. Vivian had planned the party behind his back, told him it was a surprise for Lauren, and forged his signature on the venue contract. The Cassandra thing, a blindside. He'd had no idea until Vivian sprang it on him mid-toast. He'd spent the night after I left screaming at his mother, threatening to cut her off entirely if she ever pulled something like this again. I should have seen it coming, he said, voice cracking. I kept making excuses for her. She's grieving Dad. She's lonely. But this was a line she can't uncross. I studied his face. The boy who spilled spaghetti on my shoes was still in there, buried under 5 years of trying to please everyone. Why didn't you stop her sooner? Because I was scared of losing you both. But last night watching them drag you out, he choked up. I choose you, Lore. I've always chosen you. I just didn't know how to say it loud enough. We stood there in the drizzle, two idiots crying in a stranger's driveway. Then I punched him in the arm hard. Zell, that's for letting your mom turn our anniversary into a circus. He rubbed his arm, grinning through tears. Fair. We didn't go home right away. Instead, we drove to the beach, our beach where we'd had our first date. The sand was cold, the waves angry, but we walked anyway. I told him about the dress, the lilies, every slight I'd swallowed to keep the peace. He listened, really listened, without defending her once. When we got back, Vivian's car was in the driveway. She sat on our porch steps looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. No makeup, hair in a messy bun, clutching a tissue. I owe you an apology, she said before I could speak. Both of you. Ethan started to interrupt, but I held up a hand. This was my fight too. Say what you need to say, Vivian. She took a shaky breath. I've been awful, not just last night, since the day you met. I told myself I was protecting Ethan, but really I was scared. Scared of being alone, scared he didn't need me anymore. Her voice broke. My therapist says I have control issues. Shocker, right? Ethan and I exchanged a look. Therapist. I'm selling the lake house, she continued. Putting the money in a trust for your Italy trip, and I'm moving into assisted living. The one with the bridge club, I hear they need a fourth. I almost laughed, almost. There's one condition, she added, meeting my eyes. I'd like to earn my way back, babysit when you have kids, learn to use your weird coffee machine, whatever you'll let me do. Ethan spoke first. We'll think about it. But I saw something new in her, humility. Real humility. It didn't erase the past, but it was a start. The real anniversary party happened 2 weeks later. Just us, our friends, and Pickles wearing a tiny tuxedo bow tie. We renewed our vows in the backyard under string lights. Ethan hung himself. Mrs. Delgado baked a 3-tiered red velvet cake, and when it was time for toasts, I took the mic. 5 years ago, I married my best friend. We've had spaghetti stains, leaky roofs, and apparently evil mother-in-laws. Laughter rippled through the crowd. But we've also had dance parties in the kitchen, 2 a.m. talks about nothing and everything, and a love that doesn't need anyone's permission to exist. So here's to us, messy, stubborn, and unbreakable. Ethan kissed me like we were the only 2 people in the world. Vivian watched from the back row, eyes shiny, hands clasped in her lap. She didn't clap too loud, she didn't need to. Later, as guests trickled out, Ethan pulled me aside. I have one more surprise. He led me to the garage, where a beat-up VW bus sat under a tarp. Painted on the side in my own handwriting, copied from our savings jar, were the words Italy 2025. I sold my dad's watch collection, he said. The one Mom always said I'd inherit, figured this was better. I tackled him into the sandiest hug of all time. We leave in June. Vivian's coming for the first week, her idea, not ours. She's already practicing Italian on Duolingo and swears she'll only critique the pasta if invited. Baby steps. So yeah, I was banned from my own anniversary party. But sometimes the worst nights lead to the best mornings. If you're watching this and someone's trying to dim your light, whether it's a mother-in-law, a friend, or your own doubt, remember this: your story isn't theirs to write. Hit that like button if you cried, laughed, or wanted to punch Vivian yourself. Subscribe for more real-life chaos and drop a comment. What's the craziest thing a relative has ever done at your event? I'm reading every single one. Until next time, keep choosing love loudly, messily, and without apology. See you in the comments.